Your journey, India's #1 all-in-one travel brand. Kashmir package starts from ₹15,000 only. Q1Q Pharmacy. Quality healthcare at affordable price.
Looks a little like a volcano now, as they're fired off at all angles.
Got a car stationary down at turn 10. Yellow flags are out.
Well, our fireworks have a lot to live up to, and I'm sure they will do. Stick around for those at 8 o'clock this evening. I realise that if you've taken our coverage with you out and about, then fireworks on the radio is not a great feature. We've tried to describe them as best we can in the past, and now, yes, we go under a code 60. Let's hope that drivers weren't rather distracted by the impromptu extra fireworks.
It's at the other end of the field. There we go, down at turn 10. It looks like we've got a car into the barriers on the exit of turn number 10. Emergency vehicles are in there. That's one of the fastest braking zones on the circuit as the team gets down there to find out what's going on.
Works if you want. Joe's just said to me that you can help me with the fireworks, Joe. In what respect, as we try and work out what's gone on?
Yeah, to describe people. What I can describe for the fireworks for people listening on radio.
Yep.
Are you ready? Ooh! Ah! Ah! Ooh!
That's not really describing anything.
That was about
It's just you making funny noises.
They were great.
Yeah, Nick and I kind of have a different idea of what you were doing there, but I'm sure it was the fireworks. There's a car in the barrier, at least one. I'm trying to work out whether it's more than that, though.
It just looked like the one because we've only got one piece of barrier that's... It's tyres down there. It's tyres. Driver's out of the car. And he is out of the car, and we've just got to find out what car it is.
So is that overshooting at the end of the back straight into turn 10?
If you run straight on there, that is the overshoot of that area. And the braking, it looks really deep when you walk it, but when you're at 300 kilometres an hour, it's not very deep. It comes up at you very, very quickly indeed. But the intervention vehicles from Dubai Autodrome were on site ASAP. They've got many access areas around the circuit.
And the tyre wall is there because if you went any further, you would end up on the 311.
Okay, you're going to Sharjah.
Yeah.
Okay, and
there's no slip road there, so
and given the way people drive in Dubai, you wouldn't be the fastest car out there.
And they wouldn't necessarily make space for you either if you were looking to join, because as I say, that's not a junction. But one or two have tried it over the years.
Yeah. And
thankfully, the tyres doing their job. But when a car is stopped at such velocity, the first concern is the driver, and that's good news that they've been able to get out of the car with Marshall's assistance and then walk under their own steam. In fact, they're in deep conversation now as well.
With the medical staff, always on site here. A full medical facility here at Dubai Autodrome. As this was being built as a Formula One testing circuit, as John described earlier, and then they banned testing. So what do you do? Dominic Albert, 414, Razoon More Than Racing. Oh dear, running 5th in class in the 414 car. It's good to see that Dominic's okay. It's well, if it's gone into tyres, there may not be as much damage as Armco.
True.
And they may be able to recover that back to the pits on a flatbed.
The other thing that I'm rather hesitant to raise, but I feel like I have to, is that the 414 car, we've got a lot of extra fans tuned into the 24 hours of Dubai this year, and the 414 car is Ajith Kumar's car.
It is.
I'm afraid to say.
Is it one of his cars?
It's one of his cars, but I believe that's the one he's focusing on for this year's
Well, that's the one that ran out of fuel, that brought out the last code 60. That ran out of fuel on the way down into the pit lane. So
clearly Ajith's fans, and there are so many of them, either here this weekend or paying attention from further afield, and they will be desperately hoping that that car can rejoin the race. The flatbed is being reversed into position.
About 5 or 6 deep.
Yeah.
So just front-end damage to that car, along with possibly another issue that we are unaware of at this time, as the car already being put onto the flatbed. We've got to rearrange the tyres as we do.
So the 414 car has had a big old incident, and I think actually the nose of the car ended up partially under the tyres as well. So car 414 with Dominic Olbert at the wheel of the Razzoon Northern Racing Porsche Cayman. It was running, or is now running, 6th in the GT4 category. And fans of Ajith Kumar, our huge Indian film star from the Collywood scene, was due to be in this car later on in the motor race, and that's going to be a very, very difficult repair in order for him to do that. But we hope that they can, and we clearly hope that Dominic Olbert is fine as well. But the early conversation that he was having with track
belts a little bit. You wear a full hands device so that if you have a head-on collision like that, it restricts your head movement forward. And all of these latest safety things is the reason why we see drivers get out of cars that have had horrendous accidents and walk away from it. And it's just, you know, I remember last year we had I think it was one of the Alpines down at Yass, sitting on the infield at turn 4 at Yass. There's no tyres on it, just the engine in the back, and all we could see was a roll cage, and the driver sitting in there calmly unplugging himself and getting out. There was nothing left of the car. So amazing safety that has been promulgated through the Creventic series with all of the cars out there. Drivers wear full 3-layer fire suits. There are onboard fire extinguishers activated from inside and outside. So safety is paramount in motorsport because it is dangerous.
Yeah, and we've already had a nasty incident with a car that partially caught fire and needed that fire extinguisher that is carried by all of these cars. The driver with partial burns, we were hearing, not visible burns, because Joe had a word with the driver involved with that, but you only need to be exposed to fire for a very short period, a couple of seconds, and you'll feel the heat for maybe a few days. But yes, fireproof race wear is essential in this occupation. This car that we're talking about now didn't catch fire, but is looking very sorry for itself on the front, with a lot of that paint from the rubber belt that sits on the front of the tyre wall now scuffing the front of the car after it ended up underneath that very large tyre wall at the end of the straight between turns 9 and 10. The race around this recovery continues, rather, in a sense. You can't overtake, and you have to adhere to the 60 kilometres per hour, but this can all be weaved into potential strategy. If you're in a position to take on some fuel, you are allowed to do that. Come into pit lane, maybe do a driver change and a tyre switch, but then when you get to the fueling area, you're only allowed 25% of your normal fuel allocation. That's exactly what the race leader is doing, in fact. Dan Harper out of that Almanar Racing BMW. Darren Young took over before the car visited the pit lane, but a bit more fuel for Darren Young before it will continue on.
James Winslow also into the pits in the Haas RT car, and currently 4th on track now, and 2nd in the AM category. Paradigm competition, and Simon Travers in the 991 leads the AM and 3rd overall. And Pure Racing, again, Alexei Nisov moving up the leaderboard up into 2nd position. 146 laps completed by our race leader, the Almanar Racing. And Darren Young now just leaving the pits. Now this barrier repair shouldn't take too long, because they've just got to have a look at the tyres as the 414 makes its way into pit lane. That'll be parked, either sent down to their garage. You can see that part of the front, the air dam, is sitting in front of that car rather than underneath it. But quick work from the track team here at Dubai Autodrome to get that sorted out. A little bit of barrier repair. I did see during the last Code 60 that the course car did go out to have a bit of a look around the circuit, and I think we'll see a little bit more of that this evening, just to see where debris is, and a lot of it is to replace the signage, the foam signage, which is the countdown corner markers that tend to get occasionally removed by a wayward car. So that car now being taken back into the scrutineering bay and the technical bay, just at the beginning of pit lane.
And have you had much experience on the Michelin tyre?
No, this is the first time we've run it in Dubai.
What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a good tyre. It's yeah, good all-round tyre, and it's working well.
I mean, I know we sometimes focus a lot on like one-lap speed and ultimate qualifying speed, but it's all about that tyre lasting you as a driver, isn't it?
Yeah, I think with the Michelin, especially with the BMW, you just got to protect the front. The front axle is the one that goes first, and you just have to keep that protected, and you're okay.
All right, thank you, Simon. We've gone back to green, guys.
Then a nice little gaggle of non-Pro GT3 cars from 5th position down to 10th spot, including the 2 Herbert Motorsport Porsches, as what is left of the 414 car now after its big crash at the end of the long straight goes past Joe. What's your early assessment then, Joe?
Oh, I'm not sure it's going to rub out, Johnny.
Yeah.
It's got a massive amount of damage on the front end. I'm now behind the car, so it may be, when I get a proper and closer look at it, just kind of superficial bodywork, etc. When it gets to its garage and they give us a better chance of stopping still and me getting a proper look at it, I'll give you a better assessment. But remember, it's Baz Cooten is part of this operation as well for Ajith Kumar, and they don't know when to stop, do they? They'll just keep on
Indeed, the front 2 corners mechanically look pretty okay. It was just a lot of bodywork laying over the top of them, so it looked reasonably square at the front end. So hopefully, when you have a look at that, you'll be able to see if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah, I think you're spot on from what we saw from the front wheels, and more importantly, the front wheels are also pointing in the right direction. Now, whether they're fixed to the car is a matter that we can find out in a moment. But we are walking all the way up the top of the pits with this car being pushed by the mechanic, so we'll see. But I think you're right. It's reached the garage now. It's going to be pushed in nose first, and the team will go to work. I'll get back to you when I have a report.
Well, this is a Razzoon More Than Racing car, isn't it, which is the team from Austria. I know the sister car, as in the other car that Ajith Kumar had as his name against it, is a Baz Cooten car.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Baz Cooten was involved with Razzoon. That might just have been a misspeaking moment from Joe, unless he knows a little bit more. Ah, fine, okay. Gotcha. I mean,
Your journey, India's #1 all-in-one travel brand. Kashmir package starts from ₹15,000 only. Q1Q Pharmacy. Quality healthcare at affordable price.